All right.
It says we're here.
Okay. Hopefully we made it in time.
For Kim, you mean?
Yeah.
We hope we've made it in time for Kim. I hope there's sound. I hope the delay between audio and video is not pronounced. I hope I remember what words are, because I speak as part of my business entity and I am struggling today. My whole shtick is I can't shut up. But wait, what are words and how do they work?
Well, that's okay. This is going to be interesting then, because my mind is...
my mind's a little too, and I don't know. But we have been validated. Great. So
Okay.
we'll go ahead and do what we do. Hello.
Hi,
Kayla Lords
John Brownstone.
of Loving BDSM, where we help kinksters like you have happy, healthy power exchange relationships. It's our weekly live stream, a recorder podcast, the audio version of which hits all major podcast apps every Friday. We are here 8 minutes early. If you are here for the live stream and you don't like idle chit chat, are you lost? Have you just wandered in? But you also have time to go get a snack or a drink or go to the bathroom or whatever you need to do. I don't know your life. If you are here after the live stream, but before I put in timestamps, and you don't like idle chit chat, I asked the same question. Are you new here? But also you can fast forward by about 8 minutes and skip this whole part. I'm going to say hi to folks.
Hey, say hi to everyone.
Hi, Kitty. Hi, Base Eats. Hi, Claire. Hi, Kim. Hi, HM. Hi, Silent. I'm just going to... Hi, Wendy. Hi, Andre. And thank y'all for validating my existence. I really think I'd be lost if there wasn't somebody out there going, yes, you exist. And what you have to say is kind of weird and off kilter, but it's interesting. So Hi, Molly. I also think I'm in my feels, and I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know. Is it low dopamine? I don't know. Is it low serotonin? I don't know. Did I just not sleep well last night? Yes, that's always true. That's just true. I don't know.
These days it's more like, say when you have a good night's sleep.
Yes, that is much more interesting and rare. But I would never get to talk about my sleep if that was if that was all that went. Hi, SC, and yes, Silent, it is. It's just hormones. So I'm mostly happy with the medication I'm on, meaning I've got everything. I'm fully stocked. I'm not having to skip doses. I'm not having to ration. I'm not having to go without. And yet some of the more annoying symptoms are getting worse. And I'm like, do I bug my doctor and be like, look, something is not working the same way anymore, even though I already have an appointment set up for July? Or do I try to do more environmental things that stress me out to think about, that I don't really have time for, that I'm not real good at changing habits anyway, so that just adds stress. Should I add more stress to my life, or should I just call my doctor? Is really... I'm not stupid. I know that there are oftentimes, if you change some of what you personally are doing, it either helps your medication work a little bit better, or you don't always need quite as much medication. I know that. But the mental effort to even conceive of it, and then the amount of mental effort it takes to even remember to do it every day. My goal right now, I'm trying to get more fiber and more protein, and I am struggling. I'm not going 0 to 60. I like to take our own advice sometimes. Starting slow and just incorporating things where it's yeah, this is the thing you can incorporate. And then I'm fighting for my life when it's time for the digestive tract to work. So I don't know. That's more than you wanted, but still. I'm very envious of your weather, Silent. We started our day when we woke up. It was 44 degrees Fahrenheit. It was delightful. I mean, you were a popsicle.
Yeah.
I was delighted. And it is rapidly approaching, if it's not already there, the low 80s. I just don't think your temperature is allowed to double in
a given day.
6 hours. Yeah, I don't think so. Hi, Rara. Yeah, Kim, I think my doctor would probably do that for me as well. It's just I keep going back, and it always involves with this doctor, for me, it always involves more blood work, more time. I don't know. I'm just. I did get to go see the 19-year-old yesterday. I actually, on Tuesday, as a self-employed person who's technically been in charge of her schedule since June of 2014, I took an actual day off in the middle of the week.
You did?
Because I worked through the whole weekend. And so then I went to be a mom. I used my day off to go make sure the child had groceries.
Had food to eat. Yeah. Yeah, talking, we're in the low 80s today, warming up from low 40s in the morning. God. And now apparently we're going to have another temperature plummet, as they said.
Give me plummeting temperatures. Please, God, give me plummeting temperatures. I'm just walking around too warm all the time. Poor JB. Sun was shining outside. If you could have found like a sunspot, it probably would have felt to normal people and perimenopausal people quite warm. Poor JB got such a chill. He's walking around this house in his fuzzy sock slipper things, which are adorable. His fuzzy bathrobe, fully clothed underneath said fuzzy bathrobe, and then had to turn the heat on just to get the chill out. And I'm a supportive partner, a supportive person is what was about to come out of my mouth. I am supportive and I don't want him to be cold, but then everywhere I ended up sitting in this house where I needed to be in that moment
it was warm, wasn't it?
Directly in front of a vent. I was like,
but see, I was kind. Once I got to a point that I was warm and comfortable, I turned it off.
I know, and I knew you would, and it was like, it was fine, but it was also like, ironically, just sort of a, what is happening? This is love. This is what love looks like. And feels like. Apparently love is hot and sweaty.
Yeah.
Hi, Ben.
The same man that when we have temperatures in the low 40s and upper 30s opens the bedroom window so someone can sleep comfortable.
Did you notice I was not going to complain while you were trying to warm up? I'm complaining after, now that he is warmed up. It's called being supportive. And I don't complain behind your back. I just do it out on the internet in a microphone. Where did the sound go? I don't know. Can anybody else not hear us? Okay, good. I'd stop talking. I didn't want to say anything funny or important and it not be heard.
Okay.
Right. I don't know how to let Andre know if he still doesn't have sound, that sometimes you have to like turn off the video, close out your app, come back in, and then you get sound again.
Did you turn it off and turn it back on again?
That is good. Okay. Okay. I still contend, Rara, I would like to one day be willing, not able, I mean, we probably could, but be willing to pay the electric bills to have this temperature set where I need it, and I'll just buy JB all the fuzzy blankets, all the slippers, all the robes. I will keep you toasty warm. Quite frankly, when you get cold, I've got humidities that like standing on, the surface of the sun. So I can keep you warm.
You can.
But I need to feel cool.
I've actually woken up during the middle of the night and reached over to touch you, and you've been too hot to touch.
Yes. Yes. And
not in the good way.
And that's the thing. That is the validation I needed. That is the validation I needed from him.
And Lola agrees.
Lola agrees. Because there are times he's like, I'm so cold, and I'm like, there's sweat running down my face. And I'm like, am I crazy? Have I gone? I mean, I am, but you know what I mean? And then when he's like, oh God, you're too hot, I don't even want, I'm like, okay, good. No, this is real. This is real, and I'm being cooked alive from the inside out. So, okay, it is 1:01, so we will get started a minute late. We've been doing that more often.
Yeah.
I feel kind of bad. Anyway, as you can tell from the title, we're going to talk about 24/7 DS and Total Power Exchange today. If you enjoy this while we're doing it, we love a thumbs up. If you like it enough to want to come back for more, please consider subscribing.
And once you do that, go ahead and ring that notification bell. Get updates, new content.
Just do what Daddy says.
Right.
I believe it so much. I just wear the damn shirt only in this room, y'all. Only in front of a camera. I am not going to let the 15-year-old see this because there will be questions I don't want to answer. Okay, so I said the things I need to say. You can push the buttons that you need to push. Ta-da. Okay,
Okay, it looks like everything's working.
I don't trust it.
Thus far.
Before we get into
there, knock
this
on wood.
week's episode, who's being chaotic now? Who's being chaotic now?
Excuse me.
I would like to do some announcements. There are a couple of them. One, I'm happy to say, after I kind of weirdly teased it in ways that not everybody would have picked up on anyway, because I don't know how to do that. The 2025 Dom Sub Virtual Summit is coming back March 31st through April 3rd. Attendance is free. You can register for free. A free ticket gives you access to each day's sessions for 24 hours. So you don't have to be there live. You just got to go watch them within the 24 hours. There will be, for anybody who has the budget for it, a paid option that gives you other stuff. But if you don't have it, but you want some good BDSM education, you can attend for free. We have a session that is so right up our alley, and after the summit will be the reason we do a series on this, how to make your dynamic work in the real world, which is kind of our fucking jam. It's kind of like what we do here. So, but there are also plenty of other really good educators and sessions. Princess Rara, who is watching live right now, has a session on kink comparison, which, like, I just saw the title. It's not a session I can go see yet, and I immediately had thoughts and ideas for some of our future content. So thank you for that, Rara. Evie has a session. Sunny Megatron has a session. Luna Matatas has a session. There's sessions on bondage. There's at least one, maybe two people who are kink therapists who have some things, like, it's good, y'all. The link to go check it out, see what's what, register if you're interested, is in the places. Let me just say again, ticket is free. For free. This is one of those situations where what we were tasked with by the organizers was, this is not that webinar bullshit weird thing you might have experienced where you sit through an hour of somebody like giving you very basic information and then they end it with, but if you buy, no. Like, these are actionable tips. That was our job, was to create a session where anybody who watched it walked away with, ooh, I can try this. I can think about that. This is a way to do this. So it's actual legit value. And you don't have to pay for it if you ain't got the budget for it. Okay. So that's March 31st through April 3rd. If you happen to be on our email list, you'll hear about it again. I'm just saying. We'll talk about it again next week because I want as many people who want to attend to be able to attend. Second announcement, less exciting, but it's a thing. This Friday, don't ask me what the date is. I think it's Friday, March 21st, but I didn't look at a calendar, and we know how I am. We are doing our Friday night live stream. It starts at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, ends at 11 p.m. Eastern. It's chaotic. We hang out. It's got a bonus section vibe, but more chaos. And also in the middle of that, we try to answer kinky questions for folks who are watching live and want to ask their questions. So that is this Friday. For podcast listeners, literally the day that this episode goes live for you. 9:30 p.m. Eastern till 11. We used to not really have an official cutoff time and then would just like end around midnight. We're just too old for that now. We're very tired. We end at 11 now. So yeah, that's the stuff. Those are the announcements. Okay. Let me get into our notes.
We have notes?
We have notes. So the reason we're doing this episode is because we had more than one question in our last Ask Us Anything Q&A long episode. Not to be confused with our Monday Q&A episodes where we answer a single question. And it was about 24/7 and Total Power Exchange, aka TPE. You will often see it. Every time I see TPE, I have to go, wait. That's right, Total Power Exchange, Total Power Exchange. It's like when I see ENM, I have to go, wait, what? And then it goes, oh yeah, ethical non-monogamy. I just don't walk around with a lot of acronyms in my head, you know. I think about them. Okay. I tend to think in full words. I don't usually think in acronyms. And I realized that if we've done this, it's been a hot ass minute, and it certainly was never to talk about Total Power Exchange, because I think even I had misconceptions about what that specific term could be and could mean. And in the middle of answering that question from folks during that episode, I was like, I can't take the time I want to even think through what I think about this topic. So here we are. So the one thing I did first and foremost to make sure that I had some kind of working knowledge and I thought what I thought was the thing was probably the thing is I made sure to look up Total Power Exchange. Because if you ask me what 24/7 is, I got that. We live it. We live our version of it. Total Power Exchange was like, am I misunderstanding? I came across some sources that made me roll my eyes. I did not include those. I came across a couple of sites where I was like, even if this is not exactly specifically how I would define it, this is good info. I have linked it in the places for anybody who wants more perspectives on specifically Total Power Exchange. So the way it is commonly, I'm going to air quote that because commonly is based on what I personally have seen. That does not mean other people don't talk about it other ways in other places. Commonly, Total Power Exchange tends to be defined as the power exchanges where the dominants have all of the control. And the way it is typically defined, all of the control is almost at a micromanagement level, where a submissive does not sit, stand, leave the room without the permission of the dominant. And I think that's way too narrow of a definition. And as with many terms and labels, that's really the inherent problem, is the air quote commonly understood definition, even if that's not your specific definition of it, is way too fucking narrow. And as with everything, it's a spectrum of things. And so I just kind of want to talk about it. I consider us, and we consider us 24/7. I do not consider us Total Power Exchange.
Okay.
Do you?
Why?
Here's why. I do have a reason for that.
Okay.
Because based on how I think of Total Power Exchange, and only not that narrow definition I just gave, it's because we have one area of our life where power exchange has no say.
True.
And for me, and that's parenting for anybody who's new here.
Yeah.
If we did not have that, I would say we're Total Power Exchange, but not in the way most people think.
And see, to me, kind of looking at it, to me, when talk about something like Total Power Exchange, to me, now you're talking like things like high protocol and, you know.
Oh, there's lots of rules that you have to follow. And
yes.
And again, I think that's another part of the spectrum of what it can be to be Total Power Exchange. Because there are absolutely people out here in relationships where they're in what, if we understood what all their nuances, that's Total Power Exchange, but they might not have. And they have a lot of rules, because I think that in some of those, this is subjective, but a air quote strict power exchange, if it's going to be total, there probably has to be a lot of rules. Here's why I would classify us, if everything came through our power exchange, as Total Power Exchange, because here's the thing. It's the same reason I classify us as 24/7. You are always the decider. Outside of parenting, there's not a decision that gets made in this house that you have not either had your hand in, pre-approved whatever I might do, or directly said yes or no. Let's be real. I don't usually go asking questions where I think the answer might be no. I know better. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And do I think that's a very loose perspective of Total Power Exchange? Yes. Do I think that that is a definition that would not fit a lot of people's feelings about it or understand or vibe, abso-fucking-lutely. But that goes back to what we've said many times anytime we talk about a label or a term, which is words do have meanings, yes, and we should understand those general meanings. But within kink, you can make the term, if it suits you, fit you. You don't twist yourself into knots to fit the term. So my understanding of total is that there's no part, other than parenting, there's no part of our life that you don't have say in. You don't have, if you want it, total control. Now, 24/7, I classify this as 24/7 for that way as well.
Okay.
But the way I have seen it defined by others makes sense. And again, I think you can use this term the way that suits you best. But typically, the way I see 24/7 defined is that for people in 24/7, which is this true for us as well, there's no point where we just like take off I don't take my sub hat off and I'm not submissive, right? It goes back to, I think, the whole argument, not argument, but I can't think of the word, but basically that for some people, kink is an activity, and for some people, especially specifically power exchange, it is their identity. So we don't have to be doing a kink thing. We don't have to be actively in our power exchange. We are still in a power exchange relationship all the time, right?
Yes.
So that's how I think of 24/7. And I think a lot of people think of 24/7 that way. But when I was looking through talking about total power exchange, the ways a few people who I did not link to because I just didn't like that overall vibe, I was like, no. They were like, oh, total power exchange is when you're 24/7. So they conflated total power exchange and 24/7 as being identical. Do I think that if you're in total power exchange, you are 24/7? Yeah, because how can you not be? But I think you can be 24/7 like we define it, and I can't call us total power exchange because you don't have total control because of the one thing where we're equals.
Yeah. But I absolutely agree that there is an overlap.
Absolutely. I still can't decide who's the umbrella.
Yeah.
Is 24/7 the umbrella and total power exchange comes under? Is total power exchange the umbrella? And I still...
And everything falls under that.
Because I think most people, if depending on how they feel about the terms and how they define them for themselves, there are plenty of people who, thinking about it that granularly, right, might go, oh yeah, well, we are total power exchange because there's no part of our life our power exchange doesn't touch. And there are going to be other people out there who can relate to, there's no part of our life the dominant partner does not have some say over. That, to me, is total power exchange. Yes, you can swing the whole other way on the graph, and it can be a dominant who makes every decision for their submissive. And I think even with that, there's fluidity, because I can see it being that a dominant has made a lot of decisions, and those are rules that a submissive follows. And then you get to the other end of that, and it's that micromanagement where that submissive does not move unless their dom tells them to. And that is something that we have witnessed in 2 cases. I think it is the exception, not the rule. I personally, if somebody asked my opinion, and y'all didn't, but I give it for free, it's not something I would recommend anybody strive for, unless, man, you just feel a fucking calling for it. Like, it's got to be like beating a drum in your chest. You got to do it. The Jumanji drums are like in your head. I've got to do this. Right. Because that level sort of requires a person, the submissive, to be willing to give up everything on certain levels with the trust and knowledge that they'll be taken care of. But it also does not seem to acknowledge, from the little bit I've seen, the reality that what happens if the dom is incapacitated? What if the dom can't speak? What if the dom's in the hospital? What if the dom's so sick they're like just puking into a bucket next to their bed that there's no giving? Like, what are the fail-safes?
Yeah. The fail-safes, I think that is something that needs to be talked about ahead of time. I mean, if you are going to do a total power exchange, and it is going to be that narrow
and highly managed,
and highly managed, you have to you have to have that in there, just like we have a tough love clause.
Yes, because
Okay?
you can't be in control of everything if your control harms us or you.
Right. So, the same thing goes for that. There has to be a fail-safe.
It's the only word I can think of, yeah.
To cover that if it happens.
When I think about, because I've seen it. I've seen a little bit of derision. Fuck the person with that, who looks at us and was like, you can't be 24/7. You don't seem to have a lot of rules. I seem to have a lot of leeway.
Yeah.
Well, it's because, and this is what I would recommend for anybody who is interested in that kind of dynamic, but thinks it's too much, it's too overwhelming. They don't want to go to that end of the spectrum where it's micromanagement. Neither do we, right? But for folks who are interested in like living their power exchange and it being incorporated into their whole life, it's a lot of negotiation. It's ongoing negotiation, but it's a lot of negotiation. And there's a lot of, when I say upfront, this occurs all the time, but there are moments in time where the rules are negotiated and understood so that for a Dom like JB, who does not have the time, inclination, or willingness or mental capacity, because I don't blame you, I couldn't either, to watch me every moment of the fucking day, nor do I don't want anybody breathing down my neck like that. Thank you very much. I would like to still love him at the end of a fucking day. But if he is the reason I'm overstimulated, it's going to be tough. We baked that in so that I understood what my behavior needed to be. I understood what was expected of me. As I personally am inclined to do, and I know a lot of people, Dom or sub, who do this, I take on extra. I do more than was negotiated because JB allows me to, but also because I want to. I want to take care of him in that way. I want to serve in that way. But you got to do this no matter what stuff, we are not talking about it every damn day. Nobody's got time for that. JB does not have time to follow me all day long going, did you do the thing? Did you do the thing? Fuck that shit. We set the expectations early. Right. We keep the lines of communication open. That's the other thing I think that people get wrong about. It would be both 24/7 and total power exchange because it would be unrealistic otherwise. Needing to interject with air quotes some real life, needing to, like we did for a few years, go on autopilot, which is what I like to call it. And I think even if you need to take a beat to pause the power exchange for any length of time, there are too many people who would say that's not 24/7, that's not total power exchange. And I would go back to, in those moments, do you each individually still feel and know yourself to be Dom and sub? I think you can at least make the argument that no matter what the activities are, at that point, you are still 24/7. The physical acts of your power exchange may have to stop, but think about it this way. What happens if you are in that more highly managed type of total power exchange, and I go back to Dom is puking guts up sick. Dom is in hospital. Dom's got a broken leg and can't follow you. Dom's got, depression and literally cannot function, right? Like, do you just stop being a submissive in that moment? Do they just stop being a dominant? And
now,
no.
And, I knew one couple who did this years ago. For lack of better terms, I'm going to call it, they had a backup Dom.
Oh, wow.
Okay, it was a good friend of theirs. It wasn't like somebody they randomly
it
chose.
A rando.
It was somebody that they knew that in case the big D got sick, got incapacitated,
right?
God forbid, died. There was somebody there, so the submissive just wasn't left floundering.
Right, and to help them ease into what transition into whatever.
Correct.
And that's the kind of thing, like that is the only thing that makes sense to me. Two things make sense to me. That is one of them. If you're going to go with that really highly managed, lots of rules, lots of direct engagement from the Dom, right? What's the fail-safe? Also, I think if that either is not an option or that just doesn't work, or maybe even if it does, there have to be real life conversations about, subs, especially if you're in a situation where your Dom has financial control. Because see, financial stuff can either be seen as a service and you have total control, maybe not control, but like your fingers are in the money, or the one that's more stereotypical, but I don't know how common, the Dom has financial control, if you even play with financial stuff at all, right? Whoever is not the one with their fingers in the money and the accounts needs to know where to get to that information. Early days in us doing the podcast, and people would talk about 24/7, and somebody would say that their ideal situation is as a submissive. They never have to think about it. They never have to touch it. They never have, and they're completely taken care of. And I'm like, yeah, but do you know how to log in? Do you know what your bank is? Do you know how to pay the bills? Like, you can, to me, the best way to mitigate risk, because this is a situation where this is very risky. Like, people can do it, and some people do it because they're fucking predators and abusers to begin with, because this is a way to take advantage of somebody. You get them under your absolute and total control and then cut them off from everything. That is the thing you have to guard against. Like, this is not a thing brand new relationships ought to be doing or considering. You can think about yourself in kind of a 24/7 way if you want to inhabit your identity all the time. But if your goal is to be highly managed and to have the dom to have lots and lots of control, that's not a new relationship thing. That's we've been fucking together for a long time, and there's a lot of trust, and we know how each other operates. We've been through shit together, and we still like one another. You know what I mean? Like, because there's gonna come a day where, the dom's not in control, or the thing that gets forgotten, because not always, I'm sure, but in most cases in these kinds of relationships, that sub provides service. Maybe they don't consider themselves a service sub, but they are providing a lot of effort and work and labor in that relationship. Well, doms, what happens when your sub is incapacitated? Do you know how to make a sandwich? I hope to fuck you do. Do you know how to do the things your sub does for you that you can't not do? Like, what if you did say, well, sub, you're going to pay the bills. You're going to come talk to me. I'm going to decide things, but you do the physical act of getting the bills paid. Do you know how to log in and pay your electric bill? Because that sub is out of commission for any time. You're going to be sitting in the dark. Okay. These are the things where I am the killjoy, because the fantasy of total power exchange, the idealized version in somebody's head, is gonna run smack into reality at some fucking point. And there's certain parts of reality you can't prepare for. Like, you can kind of imagine it, but maybe you don't want to imagine it, or it's a possibility, but you're like, no, that won't happen to us. I'm too fucking anxious for that shit. My risk assessment level is like, everything's risky to me, okay? Everything's a potential problem to me. So I got a lot of questions. Other folks don't look at the world that way. I'm going to say, if you naturally don't think of the risks, I'm going to say that I'm begging you to think of the risks. What happens? Just think in best case scenario. What happens if it's just the flu? What happens if it's just a broken leg? That's not great, but that's better than in the ICU. Like, I'm not trying to, like, depress anybody, but what do you do if you can't do the thing that you were supposed to do in a situation where there's this much control? Which is why I love the version of power exchange that we have figured out for ourselves. Because, look, you're not allowed to leave this earthly plane without me. We're going out like Thelma and Louise. Nope. Hey, my kids have already gone, Mom, you're not going to be right. And they said when, and I said if, Mr. John goes first. I was like, no, if, not when, if we're going together. And the oldest looked at me like I was kind of crazy, but also with understanding of, you're not going to survive, are you? Not mentally. I will not be mentally well. But, like, I know mentally, emotionally, I will not function well if you are not in my life. But because of the life we've set up for ourselves, I can pay the bills. I can call somebody to come fix something if it's broke, right? Like, you have the control. You have the decision-making power. But I still have enough autonomy that I can function in ways that work for us.
You have access to every account I have.
Well, I took over as a service the money during the dark times. Because I was desperate to, like, protect your mental health as much as possible.
What I'm saying, too, is, any account that I have anywhere, regardless of what it is, you have access to it.
We know each other's I think everybody does this except people who are like way tech savvier and more paranoid. You have kind of a standard password you kind of use in most places. Maybe you change the numbers or the special character. We have like 3 that we rotate through, 2 or 3, and we know them. But also, you have created for things that only you really access because only you need them. I know where to go find the password.
Right.
I know how to get into your email. I sure shit know how to reset a password and can probably guess what that password is if you forgot to write it down. But we're just, that, to me, that's how this kind of stuff works. I don't want to get into his accounts. I don't need to. But if something happens, I could.
You can.
Right? We're not going to all sit here dark, either hot or cold, depending on time of year, and hungry because one of us is unable to do our highly selective function in this house. And that's the thing I caution with any level of total power exchange, any level of 24/7. We did an episode ages ago about codependence, and I think that's when we learned the term interdependence. And we are absolutely dependent upon one another, but we are also aware that we wouldn't want to, but we could minimally function on our own. That's the thing that partners in these situations have to be aware that they can do, which is why I would give a lot of side eye to somebody very young pulled into a total power exchange with lots of micromanagement and lots of decisions made by probably the older, more experienced partner. That would freak me the fuck out on behalf of a very young person. Wow. Because my question, if you were my kid's age, 19, 20, I'm going to be like, do you know how to pay the bills? Do you know how to have you ever had that experience of being independent enough that you can kind of like fumble through life like the rest of us, right? That, we talk, what was that same episode, that Q&A, somebody asked about age gaps, and I tend to be kind of hands off on age gaps because we're all supposed to be adults. But you really want to get my attention and make me worried for somebody? Tell me about a total power exchange where that one person has no lived experience as an adult. Yeah. And they were roped into that. That's fucking predatory. Because now, it's real easy to be trapped in a situation like that. And people, God knows, I think we have all heard stories. We likely all know somebody, or we are somebody who has found themselves in relationships where they got trapped, and they were old enough, and they had autonomy and knew how to like be a functional adult on their own, and they still got trapped. So total power exchange does not come without its risks. And that is people romanticize. They're like, oh yeah, I'm always on my knees. I'm always wearing my collar. I'm always doing this. And I'm like, okay, but do you raise children? Anybody got a job? Anybody got a job with a boss they don't like? Anybody got a job with an asshole boss that makes you work? How is this working in the real life? Are you having the conversations to plan for real life instead of that romanticized, airbrushed, black and white erotic photography version of total power exchange that many of us are sold?
Excuse me.
So yeah. Kim says in live chat, while I'm dealing with menopause brain, I'd love 24/7 TPE just because it would come with lists and rules that I could write down. Guess what? You could do something like that. You'd have to take the time to negotiate it ahead of time. Right. But you could see, that's the thing that I think is more doable. Personally, you're free to disagree. Is that you plan the relationship as highly managed as you want it to be. But you plan it ahead of time and understand the expectations, because any power exchange of any flavor, everybody should understand the expectations, right? It's just in a more managed relationship, there's just more expectations, there's just more rules. Just write them the fuck down and refer to them as needed. I think that gets a little harder when life is a little bit more, there's more up and downs in life. Like if folks are somehow in this economy still working the same job for 30 years and the same schedule, and they know what they're doing day in and day out, and you have that sameness to your life, it can be very easy to plan something that's more highly managed, which I think is the term I'm just going with when we talk about total power exchange, because there's predictability in it, right? But maybe I'm projecting. I just don't know how many people have that much predictability in their life. Certainly not in this economy, So that's where sometimes for some people, I think total power exchange falls apart because there's an unpredictability to life. So planning ahead can be difficult. Or if I came to you all day long Hey, Daddy, what do you think of this? Hey, Daddy, what do you think of that? Hey, Daddy, can I do this? Hey, Daddy, can I go here? You would be so fucking done with me. Part of that's personality, though. Mm-hmm. But if we tried to have the total power exchange that I think would fit best for us, which is what I'm suggesting for Kim, which is plan all those rules that you're willing to live by and that you want, and all that control that your partner might want ahead of time, and just make it routine, make it part of your day, so there's less back and forth. But there will be times when it wouldn't work, right? That chaos factor. JP's gonna be done with me after the end of the day of that many questions. Mm-hmm. Anybody who has raised small children, you remember that feeling where every other word was why, what, how does this, why is this? And by the end of the day, you're like, my brain's leaking out of my ear. I don't know why the sky is blue, and I'm not even going to Google it right now. To me, that's what it could be for people who are trying to force a certain type of power exchange that does not take into account the unpredictability and chaos that life can bring. There is somebody out there going, but I fucking love that. Come ask me 80 questions in a row. I'm happy for you, and maybe you can make that work. Maybe that would work for you.
And there are people who are built for that, right, who can do that. I am not one of those people.
No, you're not.
Okay? No, I know it, and I admit it.
And I think that's where these are the kinds of conversations to have. And I think that's another factor in broadening our understanding and our definition of total power exchange. It's just like a lot of people conflate total power exchange and 24/7. It's one and the same. So when I say we're 24/7, people go, but JB's not controlling every move you have, because that's not how we define the 24/7. Right. 24/7 to us, using literal definitions of words, we're not making shit up, is that we are always, every moment of the day, daddy and baby girl. Do we tamp it down when it's more appropriate to try to like blend in with the vanillas? Sure, or we got to be a parent? Absolutely. But there's not a moment, the moment we can put that mask down and be ourselves, we're back to it.
Right.
I think that tell me what you think about this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not a misconception, because there is a place for it, but I think another thing that too many people believe of total power exchange and 24/7 is that there have to be a lot of fucking rules. Now, highly managed power exchange? Yeah, yes, in some form or fashion, however you decide that. But, I mean, technically, I have one basic rule, and that is I have to be polite. Mm-hmm. I mean, does that rule get, like, bent when we're in the middle of, like, the kind of arguments where we're like, who are we? What has happened to us?
Uh-huh.
Yes. My righteous anger is not polite.
No.
But you don't push me to righteous anger. Once every couple of years max. The other things I do are tasks, are routines, are expectations. You could classify those as rules, sure, but we are not a highly managed power exchange.
No. And we actually kind of tried that in the beginning.
We've sucked at it so bad.
Yeah. and the thing with that was, that was the type of dynamic I was familiar with. That's what I came into lifestyle learning and having had at some point myself. And yeah, so that's what I was trying. And that's something too, you can try this. You do your TPE 24/7 and if it's not working, change it up.
Right.
Change it up. Don't be afraid to do that. You can. No one's going to come out and no one's going to pop out from around the corner and say you're doing it wrong.
Right. And anybody on the internet who tells you they're doing it wrong, please just delete, block, mute,
right,
make them go away.
Mm-hmm.
This goes to a thing I said to you today, and I think it might be its own episode at some point, because I am in love with the fact that I came up with this. I did not invent these words. Somebody else has probably said it. But we were talking about, I was like, kink, all parts of kink, power exchange, all of it. It is highly customizable.
Mm-hmm.
It's completely customizable. The only three requirements, communication, consent, and risk assessment. You have to know what the risks are and then use your own threshold to decide if you're willing to accept that risk. But even those things are customizable. I literally just finished a fucking workbook on communication, and I made myself crazy because I was like, there's all these caveats I can put in here about how here's the broad strokes of communication, but also like, you know, there's so many ways to do it so that it is effective for you. Mm-hmm. That is true of every facet of kink. And the problem is too many folks come across these one true wayers, these real ways, these right ways, and it stunts that ability to think creatively. Now, I say that as somebody who gets overwhelmed with too many options, and I know I'm not the only person out there like that. So sometimes what we need are examples, absolutely, to see what is possible. But there are too many people who get stuck and think, I have failed at kink. I can't do 24/7. I can't do total power exchange. I can't do this. I'm not a real that. I'm not, because you're trying to make this thing that this very limited definition, you're trying to fit it instead of making it fit you. That is true of every fucking aspect of this, including what we're talking about today, which is 24/7 and total power exchange. Mm-hmm. I do not worry about what the world thinks about our relationship, even though I put it on the internet twice a week, because it works for us and we are very comfortable. And there was a word I wanted.
Content?
That, and can't think of the word. In what we have, like there are no doubts for us. There's no doubts for the words that we use. There's no doubts for the way we express ourselves in our relationship. There's no doubts for that. Now, did we like meet one another online and just poof, it was like that? Fuck no. Our power exchange has been through multiple iterations over the years. Partly every time, I think, because it had to. Mm-hmm. You know, we started Sir and you tried Pet, that didn't work. Sir and Little One. And then it was Sir and Baby Girl. And then it was Daddy and Baby Girl. Mm-hmm. And then we've been Daddy and Baby Girl the whole time. But we went from long distance relationship, where we were hardly ever in the same room, to trying to live together. And we try to highly manage all these rules, all this shit. Power exchange. That crashed and burned. We reconfigured it and relaxed things and just kind of went, instead of it, for us, I think, worrying about all the things we do, let's just focus on who we are and how we relate to one another in our power exchange. That's, I think, a little bit more meaningful to both of us, more than the actual activities. And even that has adjusted over the years, because when we first moved in together in 2014, I had a 3, almost 4-year-old, and so then a 7, almost 8-year-old. That's a different life than teenagers who can be left alone at home, or, you know, when you become the chauffeur of a child and are taking them here, there, and yonder. You know, all of those transformations in like all of our life affected our power exchange. And then as we have willingly put on the internet for literal fucking years, then parts of our life imploded. That absolutely changed the power exchange. And now here we are, our whole shtick this year is we're trying to get it back and reconnect. And
you know, the whole thing with the whole 24/7 and the TPE, you know, it changes, it grows, it evolves, and that's something, you know, if you reach a point you say, oh my gosh, this isn't working, this isn't, you know, we failed. No, you haven't failed. You need to change, time to change it up. You know, we are not the same person we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you know, you know what I'm saying? So it only goes, you know, kind of hand in hand, that if we change, what we're doing is going to change.
Right. As our life circumstances have changed.
Right.
You know, when we went from having little kids who slept very deeply to teenagers who are up longer than we are, certain things changed, right? When we were parenting younger kids who had lots of questions, but they weren't like nosy about what we were doing, right? They just thought that was normal. That's how their parents behave, so that's how life is. To teenagers who get to see more of the outside world and go, why are you doing it that way? Like there are and I'm using parenting as the example, but every part of life does this. Has your health changed over any time? Guess what? You already know. it's impacted you, right?
Yep.
It's impacted your relationships. It's changed how you relate to one another and or what you're physically doing together and how your relationship is structured. And I say, as a person who only likes the change that I decided was a good change and planned for and bought all the supplies for, those are the only changes I really like. Having to change things in your power exchange because your life circumstances have changed, like you just said, it's not a failure. No. It is the natural progression. And the whole time for us, since we've lived together, we've been 24/7, and the nature of our power exchange has shifted in all kinds of ways. I'll say again, and I guess it'll be true when the kids are like self-sufficient, they're like living their own lives and paying their own fucking bills. Maybe then we'll call ourselves total power exchange, because the only reason I don't consider us that is because of that one factor.
The kids, yeah.
And parenting is a not as a big a part of our life as it once was, but it's still a good chunk of it. That there are times I have to be fully autonomous to just go, yeah, that's what we're doing, and then catch him up later and hope he's okay with it.
Which, I mean, you know, yeah.
You know what's funny about that? On one hand, I don't have a single fucking problem with that, because they're our kids and we got to take care of them. On the other hand, is the submissive who just considers you the decider all the time. Whew, there's some anxiety there. I'm like, what if he really doesn't like what I decided or did? For us, this won't be true for everybody, I know, but for us, we tend to be on the same page about things, and we are not overly precious about our own fucking ideas. If I can make the case for why doing it this way, when JB would never have chosen that, makes fucking sense, he's like, okay, that makes sense. If he can get through my issue with anything changing that I'm unprepared for and my feelings about that, and tell me, hey, I did this, but here's why, and this is the outcome, and I can see it, I don't need to argue my point. I trust him. That's a big part of it. I fucking trust him. Just make the decision. Make sure the kid makes it out alive, okay?
Yeah.
But it is a very weird feeling to me, which is why I think that based on how we look at these things and define our relationship, I would be perfectly happy with total power exchange. Minus, if parenting wasn't an issue.
Sure.
Part of it is I think my personal opinion, if anybody asked, is if you are parents or raising children, I don't care, guardianship, whatever, that is, to me, minimum the one aspect that should not be power exchange, because one partner does not always know best in any situation, but definitely that situation, right? In my case, I have been taking care of these children from literally, they spat out of the womb. Okay, I almost shot the one across the room. He was so close. It was a wild story. I am not abdicating that responsibility. I'm not handing that responsibility to anybody. I will share that responsibility. The rest of my fucking life, please somebody take responsibility for it. I don't think I can be trusted. And yet, we neither one of us at this point in life want a highly managed total power exchange. That does not work for us.
No, it doesn't fit our life right now.
No, it doesn't fit our personalities, though. You know what's funny? We love to be together. We get kind of lonely for one another. Y'all, we live together. We work together. we work together, at our house. Like, we don't go anywhere practically without each other. We are 24 fucking 7 we're together. And yet, when our day kind of pulls us apart, just in different parts of the property, we'll be like, oh, I missed you. Like, we want to be together, but there are parts of our personality and parts of our life that we're not going to get anything done if we are constantly up each other's ass. Right. And so I say that to say, for the person out there who's like, well, I thought I wanted 24/7. There's something about that appeals to me, but this one example I've seen, I can't do that, and I don't like that. So clearly I don't like 24/7, or I don't like total power exchange. Maybe you don't, but maybe it's just your definition's been too narrow and you're not customizing it for the life you have.
What you want, or what works for you, yes.
Not one of us has to justify our fucking power exchange and our kink life to another goddamn soul, okay? The only person who has to be in agreement with you is the person you're in the relationship with.
Right.
I highly recommend, if you do go to the virtual summit, please watch Rara's session on comparison. I don't know what words she's going to say, but I know she's going to tell you to stop fucking doing that, because comparison is the thief of fucking joy. And that, I don't I don't like pithy little sayings, but that one's true. Too many people are looking at what other people do and going, well, I can't do it exactly word for word like that, so clearly I'm doing it wrong. Or you're coming across the grotesque people online who are like, this is the one true way, and if you don't do it this way, you're doing it wrong. Fuck them. I hate them so much.
Or you get, I want exactly what they have.
Oh, we used to get that a lot, and I would always go, no, you really don't. We have an episode in our archives from 5 or 6 years ago. I literally said, please watch out for those hashtag relationship goals. Like, and I used us as the example because it was happening a lot at the time. I was like, no. We're wrecks, okay? We got our own fucking issues. Please don't try to be exactly like us. Be whatever the best scenario is for you and your relationship. That's what you need to do. Yeah. So let's try a recap.
Okay.
24/7, in the broadest sense of the word, means there's no real stop to who you are, your identity, your power exchange. Even if the activities die down, even if you need to pause because somebody got hit by a car on their motherfucking motorcycle and your life sort of imploded all at once, right? But I'm not bitter.
You hold that close to the vest, don't you?
Or traumatized, yeah. Look, I'd be a wreck if I didn't let it out, so we're just gonna have to let it out. And I'll never get over it. So, broadly speaking, 24/7 just means your power exchange is not something you turn off and on, and it's not, maybe it's not bedroom only, it kind of comes out into other parts of your life. It inhabits other parts of your life in whatever way makes sense for your life and in a meaningful way to you and your partner, so that in some way you're like, yeah, 24/7, this is who we are to each other. Are there a lot of rules? I don't know. Are there a lot of activities? I don't know. Do you have to ask your dom for permission on a lot of things? I don't know. That's for you to decide based on the life you live. Total power exchange is 24/7, but it means, in my mind, there's not a facet of your life that is not governed by your power exchange on some level. And truly, the only reason I don't consider us that is because of the parenting. Thing. I'll just say it 85 million more times to really drive the point home. But you can define that for yourself. You might have a similar setup to us where you have the parenting thing where co-equals there. There's compromise. There's no, one overriding the other. But everything else you do, and you might go, but that's total power exchange to us. That's fine. I'm not going to tell you how to define it for yourself. But total power exchange, my point is, it is much more and has the capacity to be much more than those highly managed, shit ton of rules, get permission for absolutely everything, every moment of the day kind of things. You can have that. You can work towards that if that's what you want, and you can make it work with your life. But it is less than that as well, in whatever way makes sense to y'all. None of us need to be walking around here justifying how we've put together our power exchange for the life we're leading right now, because nobody else is living our fucking lives. Nobody else has our personality. Nobody else has our mental illnesses, our physical disabilities, our jobs, our bills. So, yeah, that to me, that's 24/7, and that's total power exchange. And I guess my conclusion, tell me if you agree, 24/7 is the umbrella. And total power exchange fits under the umbrella. Yeah. Look, I think reasonable people can agree to disagree. I think you can define that anyway. You could go, no. Total power exchange is the umbrella, but that's just how my brain is looking at it. Yeah. Because total power exchange, in my mind, is always 24/7 in some way, right? Because if it's a total power exchange, then the dom has some level of control and power. Totally, all the time. But 24/7 does not have to be total power exchange. I think it's a little bit of a mind fuck, and quite frankly, what I would say is I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
You're right.
The only right or wrong is looking at one example and then deciding because you can't do that one version that you can't do it or you're doing it wrong. Or to look at somebody else's example and it doesn't match yours and to think they're doing it wrong. So that's where we go wrong with it. I think, again, because, man, there's always somebody somewhere who gets real fucking snarky. Yes, words mean things. Yes. But also you can tailor that. There is some wiggle room in what these terms mean and what they mean to you as an individual. It also does mean that you end up explaining yourself more. When you tell somebody you're 24/7 and you're in a conversation with them, you might then need to go, this is what this means to us, right? But it's only if you want to, quite frankly. Silent in the live chat says, maybe they're both umbrellas, but you've got two hands. I kind of like that. I'll take any analogy because I'm not good at those. I think that's one of those weird ones where if you consider it one and the same, okay. If you don't, okay. Yeah. As long as it makes sense for your situation. That's what I would say.
There you go.
I made myself hot. Well, I mean, it's hot outside, but I raised my blood pressure and I made my throat sore.
And they said it was going to be a high pollen day. And they are absolutely correct.
Yeah, my white car is yellow.
Yeah.
And I saw somebody driving a dark colored car. Maybe it was black, and it was yellow.
Yes. I can tell my eyes aren't. My eyes keep watering.
So, did we help? Did we annoy? Is it clear as mud to you? I don't know. All I want is for somebody out there to go, okay, I can do this the way I want. I'm not wrong. I didn't do it wrong. This is achievable, whatever. And then I want somebody else who's like, oh, wait, it shouldn't be like this hellscape that I'm living in. It can be different. Yes, it can. But yeah, because it's all fucking customizable. We're going to do that episode. It'll be a ranty one, I'm sure, that has no real general point other than we'll play a drinking game over how many times I say customizable. Just like we should have played a drinking game with this one, how many times I said highly managed, but then somebody gets sick, and I don't need that kind of liability, so maybe we shouldn't do that. I don't know. Anyway.
Anywho.
Do you have anything else you would like to add?
No. You did a good job, girl.
Thank you, Daddy. I feel like I've run out of words. I ran out of steam on the topic. Does that help? If people ask more pointed questions in the future, I could see coming back to it because it's a nuanced topic. There's more to it.
There's a lot under that umbrella.
We're just talking about the umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not the person standing under it.
Nope.
Or whichever hand they're using to hold whichever umbrella.
That's true.
I'm not allowed to hold the umbrellas. I hit other people accidentally on a busy London sidewalk. No, I'm not. I don't get to control the umbrella. But I'm a Florida girl. I don't like fucking using umbrellas anyway. Give it 5 minutes. The rain will stop. Anyway.
Anywho.
We're going to do a bonus section. This went a little more off the rails than usual, didn't it?
Are we good, girl?
You shouldn't ask me that. I'm not in charge of that.
Keep it kinky, y'all.
And we'll see you next week. Can I talk to the crickets?
Yes.
That was the fastest move from keep it kinky, y'all, to, hey, I almost forgot I needed to ask. I'm usually waiting for you to write down numbers. Yeah.
I like this little trick I learned.
I know. Only 10 years
later. What the fuck?
Look.
Better late than never?
It proves there's always something new to learn.
You can teach an old dog new tricks.
I wasn't going to go there. I'm not trying to get into that kind of trouble today. Thank you very much.
It's okay for me. Yeah, you'd be in trouble.
Exactly. Yeah. But if you said it to me, I would just cry.
True.
Because I'm getting older, but I don't know about aging gracefully,
yeah.
y'all. I don't think I've got it in me.
No. We've talked about what we've been going through with Lola a little bit, and I've
she heard you and opened her eyes.
Did she? And
Hi, Lola.
I when we were going through all that stuff with the vets and trying to find the right meds for her and everything, I was like, you and I, kid, we ain't nothing about this is graceful for either of us.
No, you're aging more gracefully than you realize.
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, do you have a top of your head that's literally split between your dark side and your light side? I mean, the dark side, I don't know if
I could
it's...
go either way, I guess.
Right. Well, that's always been true. And actually, it's not either way for you. It's always. I could go always, and we know. We know. It's part of your charm. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I see it every time I
look in the podcast, folks. Even if you don't usually watch a YouTube video, you're a podcast listener. I'm just saying, go find one of our more recent videos and just look at the top of JB's head. That's all I'm saying.
I think there's a little spot happening here too.
Do you want me to tell you that it's been happening for a few years?
Yeah, I don't look back there very often. So
I figure the back of my head is not my problem. It's somebody else's problem. I don't have to look at it. I mean, I don't want it to be a rat's nest back there. But no. I've, it's where I like to rub the top of your head. And there's a little bit of, oh God, did I rub too much? It's like a worry stone. Like, did I just polish that brass statue? Like,
here, rub my belly.
God damn, I wish it worked that way. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Wish it worked that way. Look, I'll rub you wherever you'd like to be rubbed, but, you know, what made that face? You made a face.
Yeah, I did.
Did you leave the door open?
Yep.
I've just been screaming about 24/7 and we didn't even close the office door. No. Hopefully the kid is smarter than we are and just closed their damn door.
He sits with his headphones most of the time.
That child don't hear shit.
No.
I think it's because he mostly just doesn't want to.
Right. So, but yeah, what kind of I'm sitting here, we're talking, and it's like I'm watching Ella just walk up and lay down in front of the door.
Yes, she's
and it did not dawn on me
where she came from.
Yeah. And then we're like, how'd she get in here?
I know she's cuddly enough. I kind of want to scoop her up and put her in front of the camera, but that would be the time she decides to be her bitch self, and I would just get scars, and I don't really want that. So I'm gonna respect her bodily autonomy and not pick her up without consent. I don't have to give her medication or make her do something that is good for her health, so I'll just leave her the fuck alone. Right. So what else we got going on for the bonus section? I saw I said this in the butt rub, but I saw the 19-year-old yesterday. That was one of the most interesting air quote. It was not a visit. It was a mom, I need food and I need to go to Walmart. Can you come? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I had all the time in the world. Normally, if I go see him in the middle of the week, I'm on a tight ass fucking schedule. I got to get back. And I was like, no, I got time. I took the day off. I'm working under my own power. I don't have to wait on anybody. He was on top of his game. He was actually awake and showered by the time I got there. There have been a few times. Neither were true. And so I'm like, I'm prepared for this to be a 3-4 hour outing. He gets in the car. I let him drive because I just was like, he does not scare me in his driving the way he used to. He's learned caution riding a motorcycle, and I appreciate that. But I'm like, I'm fully prepared. He's a college kid with no fucking money. I'm like, do you want to be fed? We can go get lunch. He goes, no, I'm not actually hungry. He goes, unless you're hungry. And I'm like, I'm actually not hungry. We went to Walmart where, look, spring break in a college town on Tuesday at noon. That's the time to go to a Walmart. That was the least stressful trip to Walmart I've ever had. Hi, Lola. That was 20 minutes. We go to Aldi. That was 20 minutes. And then he talked to me for a little bit. We ranted and raged at, current state of our country. And then he was like, okay, I want to play Destiny. You can go now. I was like, I'll see you later. And what I thought was going to be a 3 or 4 hour excursion was 2 hours tops. I was like, okay. And actually it was an hour there and then the drive to and from home. It was so short. And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of peaceful. I have the afternoon kind of to just fuck around and do what I want to do.
Yep.
I don't know what to do with that kind of power.
Yeah, we had a busy beginning of the week.
Every day I've woken up this week, I've been like, how is it not Friday? It feels like it should be Friday.
Yeah.
It's not Friday.
Yeah. We had we had planned on this because we had a tree service What?
I'm just thinking about how that all went down one day.
Yeah, it was funny. Had got some estimates to do some tree work in the front of the house. Had two very big trees, one medium big tree in the front yard, and it's been reduced to one tree at this point.
Which now looks like a broccoli stalk.
It does.
Been so
you come
trimmed.
down the road, it looks like, yeah.
It's just the very top canopy left right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
it looked like a mushroom before that canopy was so full.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, it was kind of funny because the fellow I talked to from the company, he told me they've been tied up doing a big job somewhere else, and once they're done, they're gonna set their schedule and let me know when they'll be out. So Monday morning we get up and we're just doing our thing, and I'm expecting I'm going to get a phone call, he'll tell me or email me and let me know, when we're on the schedule.
I'm in the garage pouring resin, making, finishing up paddles for folks.
Yeah. And
here comes a line.
Oh, it was a convoy.
It was a convoy of massive trucks, and at first I was like, I wonder if whose house they're working on, and then I saw the name of the company. I was like, oh shit. And the first truck in the convoy only pulled a little bit past our house, and I was like, oh shit. And there's all these people and all these trucks, and the neighbors love to come out when there's some activity. And I'm like, I'm literally stirring resin. I cannot stop or I'm going to waste this batch of resin. And I just, from the garage, call JB, who's out at in
the backyard in the tiny shop.
And I go, hi, tree service company seems to be here. And all I hear is, oh, fuck. From a man who almost never says that word. He comes like rushing out. I mind my damn business, y'all. I stand in the garage. I'm watching them all, and I'm stirring resin. Yep. And I don't say a fucking word because I know my daddy's coming. They didn't say nothing to me because we get to live in this patriarchal society where I'm the little woman. I wouldn't know anything anyway. And I just and I don't want to talk to him. I'm staring. And here he comes. Like JB came out like his ass was on fire. Here's the backstory to this. Because the backstory to me is it's not nuts, but it's a little nuts. We got quotes weeks ago. Yeah. Okay. They had done work on our house before. They were our top choice. They ended up being the best price. But they had we were only doing part of the quote. So JB had to call and go, okay, I don't want the full quote you gave. I want the front yard quote. Okay, well, I have to resend that. You have to sign that. Well, that was like 2 days before they resent it, and JB electronically signed it, and it gets sent in. Okay. And you'd been told at that time, okay, once you get that in, we'll have our girls call you and put you on the schedule. Okay. Well, a week goes by. Then another week goes by. And I'm like, have you heard? He's like, I haven't heard. Then he calls, doesn't get an answer. Then he plays phone tag with a guy for 2 days. Then dude calls and is like, yeah, the whole company's on this massive ass job out of town. We're near our schedule. I was like, so you brought the girls with you? Like, who's making the schedule? Yeah. And then he says what JB said, I'll call you, we'll get you on the schedule. No. I mean, they clearly got us on a schedule. They just forgot to tell us. Yeah.
that we were first on the schedule.
Monday morning, bright and fucking early. And thank God, like we get to be as flexible as we need to be. I was more like I would not be pouring all of these paddles. Yes, that is a paw you're looking at. Yep, those are hearts. I'll just be stirring my resin. Yeah. And then so everybody, they were very efficient. They were very professional. They were little worker bees, and I like that shit. I think that's great. They had a supervisor there who's watching everything. Fine. You did what I need you to do in these situations, and you just did all the talking. Perfect. I had to stand in the background. Y'all steady stirring fucking resin. I had so much resin to do. I'm wearing my noise canceling headphones that I got as a business present so I could listen to stuff and like protect my fucking ears. And this was a time to need it if ever there was one. So I am not focused on anybody around me. I am stirring resin and pouring resin. This is what the fuck I'm doing. And something makes me go, what? And I turn, and old dude who I don't know is in the middle of our garage staring over my shoulder at the paddles, y'all, where I'm putting resin in them. And I'm like, so, I'm smooth and suave and got my shit together. All I do is just turn and just kind of go and look, like cocked my head to the side, tilted to the side, was like, huh? And never said a fucking word. I was listening to my podcast and went back to stirring my resin. I'm pretty sure that guy thinks that's all I do is just stir resin. I had nothing to say. He was like on my, by my shoulder, like quiet. He did not announce himself. He did not actually speak to me either. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it, but it was still kind of weird. Like, he was just in our garage. In our garage. The neighbors, they were in all a tizzy. The across the street neighbors were there in a heartbeat, making sure that we were not cutting down the pretty tree.
The big tree, yeah. Yeah.
I was like, okay.
No, we decided with all these trees that we had there, and these storms that have been kicking up, it's time to reduce the amount of trees around the house. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
our front yard looks very weird now.
Yeah, it does.
And to like keep the comedy of weird shit going, it's not errors. Nothing went wrong. It was just kind of all like, what? And I'm pretty sure this is why the quote was as painful as it was. We are we're supposed to have that day done. The 2 trees that came down, the stumps grinded.
Yeah.
Stump grinding, yeah, whatever that's called.
Yeah, grinding.
Okay. That machine stopped working.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to come back later that day. They could not come back later that day.
They couldn't get it fixed.
We're now 2 days late. Have you heard from them?
No.
Here's what I think is going to happen. On like a random Friday afternoon, they're just going to roll up and start grinding stumps. Yeah. And we'll be like...
So, yeah, there's one stump that's half ground.
Yeah. It's all paid for. Fully fucking ass paid for. So they need to get their asses back here and grind my stumps.
I'll give them till next week, and then I'll remind them.
I'm demanding that these people come grind my stumps, and that just sounds like an innuendo to me. Do you need your stumps ground? Would you like somebody to come grind your stumps too? Could be interesting. Could be interesting.
Yeah. Anywho.
So yeah.
We got other stuff going on too, but save some of it for Friday.
Yeah.
For the hangout.
Yeah. I think I said everything that I have to say. Yeah. Well, and I meant to say this at the top of the bonus section and then forgot because I didn't put it in my notes. But I also, by the bonus section, am never referring to my notes anymore. I would have missed it. It wouldn't have mattered. For anybody who was a Patreon member during our membership drive and now no longer is for all kinds of valid reasons, not just because we're probably annoying as fuck. I'm so proud of myself. All Patreon membership drive perks have been dispersed out. Things in mail, things in email inboxes. I had to give myself a pretend deadline that only I fucking cared about, and then worked solid through the weekend to get it done. But it is done. Yeah. It is done. And in a couple months, that workbook that was a perk, it'll be available, for sale and stuff. But I'm gonna let it like rest and sit for a hot ass minute. But yeah, so I did that too.
I just wanted to say this, and I thought this was pretty cool, and the reason it stuck out to me was because years ago I ran a stump grinder. Okay. And those things are a bear. Okay, they'll they get you going.
So we really do want our stumps grinded, don't we? It'll be fun. Okay.
But anyway, apparently the stump grinders that they have, it's remote controlled.
Everything's remote
controlled. He did not have to be on that machine, hold the machine, and operate the machine. He did it all by remote control.
Can you just imagine how many injuries would have occurred from having to hold that fucking thing over the years?
Oh my gosh. Yep.
But as somebody who has many remote controlled stump grinders myself, I do understand the appeal of a remote control. I do understand the appeal.
Okay. I think maybe we need to go.
And you probably have more remote controlled stump grinders than I do.
Got some stump grinding to do.
You left a few of them on the kitchen, the bathroom sink the other. Y'all, I'm gone for 3 hours, and I come back, and in our bathroom is like It's a different kind of Toy Story is all I'm saying, okay? Somebody's stump got ground. Yep. With remotes. I saw them. Look, I'll be riding the high of making that innuendo work for a long time. I'm very proud of myself. So anyway.
Anywho.
Yeah.
All right.
We will
let these folks get on with their day.
Go back to whatever your normal is, because I know this ain't it.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. You okay?
Right throat.
Thank y'all for being here.
Yep.
Especially to the bitter end. Thanks for tolerating whatever ranty bullshit comes out of my mouth. And we will hopefully see y'all on Friday. Okay.
Bye.